it's a real challenge on a weekly basis, hell, on a daily basis, trying to determine just who the stupidest Republican member of Congress is at any given moment in time. And there's strong competition. You know, I mean, always in the top five, you got Nancy Mace, you got Marjorie Taylor Greene, you got Lauren Boebert. We used to be graced with Matt Gaetz. Although he wasn't stupid, he was extremely smart. He was just, he was like a shit poster in human form. But there's so many. Um, and there are plenty on the Democratic side too. But their particular form of idiocy isn't typically reflective of low intelligence. It's just a kind of overall dipshittery when it comes to tactics and things like that. And I would put both Chuck Schumer in that category, Hakeem Jeffries, Richie Torres. But I think by far, so it's Sunday, it's about 9:15 at night. I watched an interview this morning between Jake Tapper and Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin. And Markwayne is one word, which tells you absolutely everything you know about what Mark Wayne's parents thought about him when they agreed that they would name him Mark Wayne. The interview was about Jeffrey Epstein and legal stuff, and it covered two main areas. Jake, because last week Mark Wayne Mullin made a statement on the floor of the Senate where he was like, he had voted against a Democratic resolution in the Senate instructing the DOJ to release the Epstein files. And in speaking out against that bill, he was like, "We're just trying to provide Trump with some cover." That's what he said. Jake Tapper asked him about that, and I'm gonna give Mark Wayne credit on one thing here in a second. And he was like, "You're taking that out of context. You're taking that out of context." He's like, "You said we're trying to give Trump cover. How are we taking that out of context?" And Mark Wayne got in a dig at Jake Tapper that I will give him credit for because it was quite entertaining. And Mark Wayne was like, "Well, hell, Jake, you literally wrote the book on the biggest political scandal of our time. Uh, the successful efforts of the Biden administration and those close to Joe Biden to cover up his clear and significant cognitive disabilities." And I was like, look at the big brain on Mark Wayne. But then Mark Wayne fucked up and he went off the rails again because Mark Wayne tried to do a timeline. Jake Tapper asked him a question about the sweetheart deal that Jeffrey Epstein got in 2007. And Mark Wayne said, "Well, that deal came out in 2009. That was long before uh, Donald Trump was president. That was during the Biden, the Obama administration, and that was Obama's people who did that." And Jake Tapper tried to point out, he was like, "Well, actually, that's not true. That deal was made in 2007 while George W. Bush was president. And the U.S. attorney who handled that, Alex Acosta, was appointed to that position by George W. Bush. And then Donald Trump made Alex Acosta a member of his cabinet when he was first elected in 2016. And Mark Wayne was like, "Nope, nope, 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 nope. That's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. It was Obama's people." Which it's like, why lie about shit that takes 2 seconds of Googling? But going back to the first question, I forgot one thing. And Mark Wayne said this with literally zero evidence in support of it and with less than zero understanding of the law, criminal law, grand juries, and how grand juries work relative to evidence and documents in a case. And he was like, well, it's not up to anybody in the Trump administration. They have to get a judge's approval, and a judge shot down that request last week because all of the evidence in the Epstein files, every piece of evidence they have, was shown to a grand jury. And once you show it to a grand jury, it becomes confidential, and it's not up to you to release it. You have to get permission from a judge. First of all, I would be surprised if even 5% of the evidence in the Epstein files was shown to a grand jury. And the vast majority of the evidence that was generated by the grand jury was in the form of testimony of witnesses before the grand jury. And just because you take a piece of evidence and show it to a grand jury, that does not make that piece of evidence confidential. It is the testimony that is confidential. It is the witness testimony that is confidential. The law is very specific on that. And it is up to a judge to determine whether or not to release the transcripts of those grand jury witnesses' testimony. That doesn't apply to anything else in a grand jury. It's just, he is, I'll put it this way, he is by far, without question, the stupidest person who came across my radar this entire weekend. He is a shockingly dumb man. He also got a PPP loan during the first year of COVID for near or over $1 million because he has some businesses in Oklahoma. And he did not pay those loans back. Those loans were forgiven. But he is dead set against forgiving student loan debt. His debt was forgiven, even though he was already a multimillionaire. Because if there's one thing I love about America, it specializes in making who are complete fucking morons incredibly wealthy. Such as Markwayne Mullin. He's also the guy who tried to fist fight the leader of, I believe it was the Teamsters, during a Senate hearing where the leader of the Teamsters was being questioned by senators. They almost got into a fist fight with one another. So he's one of these macho fake cowboy chuds too, man. You know, he loves making like Instagram or TikTok videos in his office with his cowboy hat and his belt buckle that's like that big and his cowboy boots on. And you know, everything about him is phony and dumb and grifty. But he knows how grand juries work. He knows how grand juries work. Anyway, so I took 24 hours off. I went and got some food. I made 4 videos. I'm going back to bed. I hope everybody has an amazing rest of your Sunday evening. Tomorrow's Monday. Be safe. Don't talk to the cops. Don't consent to searches. And tell them you want to speak to an attorney. And then tell them to fuck off. Have a great week.